After a couple of videos that I've done, I wanted to talk about the topic of collectivism. I often been saying in my last couple of videos about coming together on certain things or getting together in certain ideas. It came to mind as I was going along the topics that I should talk about it. I want to bring up the story of the Tower of Babel. That story is known in many cultures. Most people know it from the Bible. It's pretty simple, even in all its variations. Man comes together, they create a tower, a god or entity sees that it is a point of folly or arrogance, and they separate them by language. Pretty simple. Typically, when you ask people, what does that story mean? Or what is the interpretation of that story? They tell you, well, obviously, it is about man's wanting to be like God and reaching the heavens, and that doesn't make God particularly happy, so he separated us. It is a point to express that it happened after the flood, which may be why God did not strike them down. It may be why God did only something like separate them and not kill them. It could be many interpretations as to the why, how, or whatnot. But in the modern day, among with everything that's going on here, especially with how you have different sides of people or people that want to come together in terms of creating a one mindset, um, that everyone should love each other, everyone should accept everyone to the point that it could be a crime. It could be, you get sued for saying something that is seen as tribalistic or different from other people or different from a certain mindset. All that being said, I want to bring up the point that the story of Babel is not about man trying to reach the heavens and becoming like God, or reaching God for that matter, but is a story that shows perhaps the difference between when we get together in terms of a conglomerate or when we get together in terms of forcing it or to create this huge thing as a collective society where everyone is the same. I believe that ancient man knew a lot of this stuff. They knew that being different from one another was important. They knew that technology or ideas came from different people sharing with one another. From this perspective, it's not crazy to think that God would separate people just by language. God would separate by language, race, religion, creed, making us all different so that we can all see each other for all the creations that we are. The Tower of Babel teaches us more than just one lesson. And in terms of applying it today, I think it's significant. You have different groups that choose to be different from one another in terms of LGBTQ. You have different groups politically in terms of right, left, but also the outskirts people, the outliers, which is neither left nor right. And it's funny when it says that they separated each other by speaking different languages, which ultimately led to the destruction. You can have two people who speak the same language, just like most of you who speak English here, or who come here who speak English, you understand what I'm saying. But sometimes both people could speak the same language and not understand each other. They don't speak the same language. They don't use the same metaphors. They don't learn the same lessons. This destruction is something that I believe we can see today. We can see it today when so many of us are so hell-bent on coming together that coming together becomes more important than the lessons we can learn from doing so. It becomes the overall goal as opposed to the goal being progress or learning new things or even being accepting of one another. We cannot accept one another through tolerance alone. In fact, I would say that tolerance is a bad thing in terms of accepting one another. Tolerating someone is like you're just okay when they're there, but deep inside, you don't really want them to be there. You choose to let them to be there because You just think it's the right thing to do. I would say that such ideas breeds more division on the inside or even hatred towards one another. I don't have to like you, and I don't have to tolerate you in order to sit down with you and have a conversation. I can hate you. You could be my enemy, and I can still choose to sit down and have a conversation with you. But at the end of the day, I'm going home and so are you, and we're going to our separate homes. If we were to be forced to be with one another in one tower, as per this example, tower being metaphorical, you know, the same state, the same ideology, the same group of people who believe in the same God or the same beliefs, isn't that a path to destruction? Even people who believe the same God, in the case of Christians, for example. You have, as I believe I've said in the past, um, me being Methodist, which is kind of like a Protestant. I believe those were my exact words. But you have Baptist, you have Seventh-day Adventists, you have Mormons, you have Catholics. Those are off the top of my head. I know there's probably a dozen more. Those are most likely the main categories. You have Pentecostals. You get these guys together sometimes and you watch them disagree on this entire list of differences into either would it be saints, whether it be belief systems, dogmatic systems, what it means to be forgiven, what it means to be separated from God, heaven and hell, the question of purgatory, and if something like purgatory is even necessary. I would say that in terms of God, the Abrahamic God, Jehovah, you have Muslims, you have Jews that are different from Christians, but we all technically speaking believe in the same God. Personally, I would say no, we don't believe in the same God. Not, but I can only speak for myself. I can't say I'm speaking for Christians, but no, we don't believe in the same God. The creed is different. The language is different. Could Christians, Muslims, and Jews build one tower, metaphorically speaking, and reach the heights of God? That's one question. A little bit of an extrapolation on that. The idea of this tower. In the Bible, it says once again that man built this tower to reach up to the heavens, and that God separated them, speaking different languages so that they could not communicate with one another. That always seemed funny to me. Why would God not let them build a tower? At a certain point, I believe that man would have reached their limit. How far up would they have to build the tower before they realized they could not build it any higher? It was physically impossible. Even today, with our modern technology, how high could we build a tower? It is by this merit that I believe that this tower they speak in the Bible is not a literal tower. I've seen evidence on YouTube to say that oh yeah, it's very possible this tower did exist, and you'll see the videos, you'll see the evidence of it for this tower existing. I don't know. I still think, metaphorically speaking, or the people who were writing the Bible at the time, or even if you believe in such things, that God Himself, through His angels, inspired people to write the Bible. That it was still a metaphorical lesson, perhaps not just in the idea of man trying to reach the heights of God and failing terribly at it, but also in the idea of the danger that we can create for ourselves when we try to be this one minded, stagnant entity of everyone wanting to be the exact same and reaching the same goal. There are dangers of that as well. There might be dangers, of course, on the other side where people are tribalistic and everyone is in it for themselves. Like in much of everything. And as per this same ongoing theme of, you know, complementary forces, I would propose that there's a middle ground that we can reach, that we don't have to be completely individualistic and we don't have to be completely collectivist.